spectator. Whoever made spectator into a game mode, I appreciate you. That's hell. That's just hell. Of course, there's one. It looks like I just got cave. Right? Yeah, no. That's cool. That's pretty. Damn, this just keeps going. And there's another jump. Yeah. Cool. For once, I'm actually okay with this. Alright, I actually want to look up some... Gosh, I love how I looked up Minecraft Cottagecore House. See, I would try to build a mushroom, but I don't think I can, you know, stretch my abilities that far. That is cute, though. A lot of this I'm looking at, I know damn well have mobs. Mods, I meant. That's actually a really pretty color combination. Yeah, remember when you could just type in a number in creative mode would pop up? Miss those days. I was about to be like, please tell me it's not just these 4 cows here. Damn, it straight up said an island. Okay, but I have an idea. Hello there. Whoa. Is there like a nice flat area? Also, Sushi's here, by the way. So you might hear her snoring. I think over here is like the flattest area. What stairs? Which stair options do I have? Because in this, they 100% use quartz. Sadly, I do not have the skills for that shit. I'll use quartz for the entire build, huh? I want to see what else I have. I see you. I forgot mud was added into this. Ooh. Oh my god, we can use the frog lights. Ooh, fun light source. Frog lights. making sure I didn't say shit in my Discord. Whoopsie. I love how every time I just type in just at everyone, fucking V's thing pops up. Alright, cool. In the Mushroom Land. I love how I gave up. Mushroom Land. There we go. Just immediately disappears. I was like, why am I yawning so much? It's probably because... Okay. Yeah, I think we're gonna do some fancy ports, unless I can find another design I like. We will see. You know what? No. Is that the brown one? Whoopsie. Give me that one. Fuck it, we're gonna do this my way. That's a lot of light color. I forgot what concrete it was, but... Oh, goodbye potion. Nope. The fact that that works. The fact that it works for a nice color combination is terrifying. But I don't know if I could do the slabs. No. Yeah, I was like, I'm pretty sure if you do slabs, it like breaks it up. Yep. Cool. So what's a good wood that like... I'd assume dark wood. Now, what would someone say if I just did a full-on acacia build? Or added it as like an... No, mangrove is too... Birch? Yep, that works. Alright, cool. We got the color. Why the fuck is it already 15 minutes? We've not been here for that long. There we go. Anyone want to post these colors? I was like, am I finally getting phantoms? Did God finally come for me? Alright, cool. Just gonna do that there, just so then I can have it. What happens if I put a fence? Okay, it's still a little bit janky, but that works. You're just having an open hand. Very Halo would be nice to build. Hi! I would choose the, I'll choose the other stuff later. Because, you know, why not? Alright, yeah. I need the stairs as well. How the fuck did I forget I need the stairs? There's a reference I like the front of. But that was about it. Huh. Where the fuck did it go? No, I lost it! Oh, where? Whoa. That's pretty, but out of my range. What the fuck? Dumb Foundry. There we go. For the way it's looking, it looks nice. That's gonna bother me, but that's gonna annoy me. There we go. Sometimes you just need to combine them. And that'll work. Edit this too high. There we go. I was like, wait, this actually might be full blocks. Nice. It's funny enough, they actually use stripped. I've been in this world for how long? Cool, 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 cool. Okay. We'll figure out the door stuff later, but okay. I have that one for like the entrance, quote unquote. What's the build I had open up? Okay. Actually, here we go. That's actually really cute. We got the cutie. Let's see how much of this gets fucked. That's fine. Yeah, again, that's gonna bother me, but also we're gonna put fancy stuff here to hide that. There we go, just to make that look not as, like, awkward. Good thing is mobs don't spawn here. Whoa, that's why I want to build her. I grabbed the wrong soda. God, I'm rewatching the 24-hour, like the week stream I did, and God, I look so different. Who allowed me to look that different? Okay, I honestly should. Whoops. It's fine. Oh my god, this is the fucking eye shape I did for the end portal. They follow the same shape. There we go. That's fine. That works out. Alright, cool. Question is, how big do I want to make this? We'll do some fancy building. We'll do the texturizing in a sec. Don't even want to question what that argument is about. Ah, oh, damn. Well, that's a good thing to notice before I fucked up. Actually, with this, there is a thing I can do with the build I've been meaning to do. Shit. You pretty girls away. Also, a show came out that I've been meaning to watch that it like just dropped today. So if anyone spoils anything, this goes out to Ray and Atlas. I will fucking murder both of you. Oh fuck, what am I gonna do for the floor? That was not thought about. I can work with this. I can work with this. I can work with this. I can heavily work with this. Again, it's an awkward shape, and then we have this. I could make this a bookcase. Like this wall a bookcase. Because I'm gonna have where like only like half a second floor is built. Oh, they have the same mod I do in this picture. That's kind of knows that. Again, that's so fucking annoying. No, fuck that. That's fine. There we go, problem solved. And this is one of the areas I can, like, just gently be creative with. Okay, yeah, we're not gonna do that with any of the corner ones. That looks weird. I do like that though. I will keep it like that. We'll just fuck around and find out at the top. Here we go again. At least it's not like the hell we endured earlier. Fucking 5 hours will mentally break you. Yeah, that makes it look less awkward. Yeah, that just makes it look less awkward when it's wrapped around like that. There we go. Why'd I do that? That's fine. That's not fine, never mind. I hate that once you put a block on that side, it's kind of fucked, but at the same time, it's... You can learn from errors of building. Yeah, that just gives it more charm. That there's like areas like this. Oh, there we go. I'll get rid of them. There we go. Just so that I can know where the hell this top is at. The top I'm gonna leave flat 100%. Right, there's a coral near me. I think I also fucked up the pattern, but that's fine. Welcome back, puppy. Yep, sure did, but it's fine. That actually looks really cute. It's a little bit stubby, but it's fine. Are you actually puppy? Yeah, you are. My kid. My boy. What? What is happening? Hold up. Why is Shane Dawson trending? Damn.
Stuck here now, these chains aren't so comfy. You by my side can't go away.
I mean, I'm not surprised.
If I try to free myself, tied and tighter,
Guess I know what Shane's trying to do.
If I try to free myself and sing this song, let no one else come near what I wrote for you. So go ahead, tie me down.
Alright, sorry. I had to. I was very invested. I looked at Twitter and all of a sudden I saw something.
Tie me down. I'd rather
I don't even know what the original shape is anymore. That shit kind of disappeared. This is why, children, you do things. This is why you do the original. Before you do anything else. This is fine.
if I try to free myself, tie, tie, let no one else come near. All I need is you. If I try to free myself, you can sing this song, let no one else come near what I wrote for you.
You know, I'm honestly okay if this is not like a perfectly good shape. Because it adds more to the charm. Yeah, it adds to the charm of this little guy. There's charm to the mushroom. Fuck. He got spirit. He's a little derpy on the top, but he got spirit. Yeah, he's a little bit derpy, but he got the spirit. He very derpy, but he got spirit. That's all that matters. Cool. There we go. Oh, is there another decorative thing I can use to climb up? 'Cause I don't want the vines to grow anywhere. Actually, wait. Fuck. God damn it. Well, let's make it grow faster. There we go. I'll just let that shit grow then. I'll just let it grow. Why not? There we go. What do I want to do on the floor? Birch? Just kind of finish off the birchy theme. Yeah. I was about to say, imagine this is not the birch. And I was just using, oak. I would actually be crying. Oh my god, damn. Bro. I'm not picking up any of the mushrooms. No. Damn. I'm gonna have to get rid of that side, aren't I? Probably. How bright are these? Oh. Damn, these things are actually pretty bright. Actually, I have a better idea. Just add some light. Choice so be for somebody else. Alright, how much of this can I just leave me for somebody else? Nope. Leave me for somebody else. Enjoy so joyful. Just gives a little light to the room. Again, I love having to be able to have like custom colors, but they're so fucking annoying to deal with. Oh fuck, I didn't mean to do that. No. There we go. It like breaks it up a little bit. There we go. Alright, I have to use the bathroom. I will be back. You can hear the little puppy snoring. Oh god, it's 9 instead of 10. My bad. Or it's 10. Not 11 as I thought it was. I looked at the wrong time. vibing, man. Okay. God, it's so weird not seeing mobs. Cool. Yeah, there's the original trident. Or there's a trident I got. I can never forget the day I got an enchanted one. So I had the water breathing. Water breathing and night vision look the same. It's just has more of a darker tint to it. Where'd that go? Oh, there's. I also remember one time I got a trident and I threw it. And I had to message a mod who I was quote unquote friends with. It's not heavy quote unquote, it's just like I respected their boundaries and I was like, I can go to this mod because I like this mod. I said, hey, I accidentally lost a tray in the water. Like, how do you lose a tray in the water? I was like, I threw it. I thought it would come back and it didn't. So she just gave me a new one. She's like, I trust you. I was like, damn. Oh, this is the other one. Here it is. Oh my god, I somehow got the... Huh! I didn't even notice I got the two that just work together. Actually, no, we're gonna use barrels for this. There we go. What are some other decorative blocks I can use? We 100% need a crafting table. Oh, fuck. Damn it. We're gonna place that barrel. We need a furnace. Oh my god, fuck. Yeah, a smoker would be nice to have. Definitely a black. I don't think I'll need I definitely will need a stone cutter. Lodestone. Ender chest. And then an anvil. That's what I need. And then I'll work on like the little upstairs area. Alright, so the lodestone can go up there. The cutter can go right there. Actually, we'll put the anvil right there and the stone cutter on top. The ender chest, which has everything I've collected. No, it's not gonna be like a thing. Sorry, I just got to. It adds to the. It just adds to the vibe, man. Just adds to the vibe of this place. Do I have lanterns in my inventory? I do. Did I put it in the right? There we go. Just to give a little bit more light. I love the little animation it has. Sorry, I had to add a little bit of cuteness. I knew that was gonna happen. That counts as nature, right? I just personally think these are all for the long trek we have to go back home to. Alright. Now for up here. Look, I know I used scaffolding wrong. But I like using it for this. I use the gray candles and then... Oh damn, I was like, there's gotta be a flint in one of these. Let's hope that doesn't catch on fire. Can we put a I was about to say, can we put a candle? Probably not. It's like I don't do many lily. Those look pretty in there. I was about to say I don't do that many lily. Holy shit! The flower fucking moves. Okay, that's cool. The flower moves, so no matter what way you're looking at. Hello, I'm finally free. Welcome back, Pyro. Welcome back to being free. Welcome to being free. And you also finished the build. Stop. Fuck it. That's just gonna bother me every time it gets close to there. I built a little thing. I built a little skunkly boy. We built a little skunkly boy. He's very skunkly, but I appreciate my skunkliness. Shh, it's fine. Nothing happened. It's fine. Nothing happened. Yeah, we're just gonna wait for these to grow a little bit. But yes, we have a skunkly built. Now, what if I mentioned I want to walk back? But I know that would be absolutely fucking hell. So we're gonna go through the nether. Because I have a techno build that I made in the nether. That would be easier to get to. I was like, I have a wood chest. That's not the wood chest. This is the nature chest. I forgot about the chapters. Ooh, yeah. About to like during the week stream. Yes, I did a week stream. It was hell, but I enjoyed it. Yeah, works. You're a wood thing. You're that thing. Okay. Yeah, I honestly think we're done here for now. Spent 5 hours and that took only an hour and 17 minutes. It's a little bit of home. What happened to the moon blooms? Or not the mushroom cows. Fuck. There we go. I would like to have some children running around here. I'd frankly not want to, like, come here and see all of them dead like that happened before. Well, there's one. Come on. Who the fuck? I was like, I can drown. I'd be happy. Okay, fuck you, music. Welcome back. Also, I got the elytra, so we're gonna go zoom. Alright, let's just go to sleep here. This is literally just like a nice little cabin I built. You can only sleep at night? Good sir, it is nighttime. Also, the ceiling is very scrunkly, but I enjoy the scrunkliness that I made. Alright, cool. It looks nice. I was like, I want to make the roof look scrunkly, and that's what I did. Alright. So we have 2 sets of cows, so we have 6 cows plus that 7th one over there. If one went through the portal, I'm actually gonna... Oh, thank you, thank you. My building skills are improving. Okay. Cool. This is not gonna be easy to find. That's the winter cabin. Is there an easy way out through here? Make my life easier, because I'm gonna forget this build is here. Honestly, this hurts my eyes to look at, so we're just gonna do this area. Because you can see the portal. That should be enough to get my, my stupid ass attention. That 100% should be enough to get my stupid ass attention. I did that a little bit too quickly. Okay. Oh god, of course. Never mind, we're starting out like this. How? 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 I got my weapons, right? Not how I like them set up, but it works. I fucking missed the brute. I have too much fucking vendettas against brutes. Okay, I don't think there's not a single Minecraft mob that I don't have vendettas against. I don't think there's a single one in like the biomes like this I don't have vendettas against. I knew it. Welcome in, Ghost. We back. We playing Minecraft. We just got done building the cabin. The little home away from home. Now we're traveling through the Nether. Get back. I see that curse of vanishing axe. Damn, we already have a full inventory. You mean playing hell? Yeah. But at least now it's not hell because it's just like, it's gonna be the... Thank God I'm not playing in hardcore. If I was playing in hardcore after doing all this shit, I would have told someone to fucking slap me. Fuck. Imagine playing. I play sometimes. God, I'm gonna have a Rainbow Shulker collection by the end of the day. If that would have been the lava, I would have killed someone. Hey, friend. Again, I got vendettas against brutes. So this is just free therapy. There you are. Thank God. But also, I feel like I would have been a lot smarter and had... I can play, I just don't like playing. If that makes any sense. I like playing this game. I just don't like doing the other shit. I have the Spectator command already, right? Perfect. An area I would have never gone to anyways. That's fine. Alright, cool. Well, good thing is we have a landmark. Thing is, I just need to get a way to, like, turn. Dodging we, bitch. Fuck. Yeah, I was like, okay, I have the Nether. Smooth sailing? For a while. The fuck? I think I should preface this that I have no control over whatever luck this is. So if you think I'm just naturally lucky when it comes to this game, I can't tell you. If you could just casually die, that'd be great. Again, my vendetta against piglin brutes will, how the fuck did you live? We'll never die. So this is at this point just free therapy for me. This also looks like multiple bastions. Okay. Why do I keep grabbing the weapons? That's gonna drive me insane that they don't stack, but that's fine. I hate these Bastion Revenants. I hate these ones so much. Again, I'll buy her some piglin brutes with zero hesitation. This is from the amount of times they fucking killed me when I just started figuring out what the hell these items were. Fuck. Oh, this is gonna be fun. Oh, this is gonna be hell navigating. How? Gonna be honest, this looks familiar for me. I'm so glad these compasses work even when the game's like struggling to render. I swear to God, I'm not good at this game when it comes to dodging and weaving. I'm just somehow have fast reflexes. No, I don't. The fuck I don't. What am I saying? I have shit reflexes. Fuck. I know, game, I know. That works. No, it doesn't. Oh my God. Nope. I was about to say, does this Enderman just show me a way out? Holy shit, the Enderman I think showed me a way out. No, he didn't. Casually, we're just gonna mine out. Oh, hey, Quartz. Again, when I said this is not gonna be fun to navigate through, I was not lying. But I'm also pretty sure, you know, that is the only mushroom biome within a distance, unless I was lied to. I bet again, spectator mode's a fucking blessing. God, why is another like this? Wait, freedom! Freedom! the Enderman showed me a way. You looking at me? It's the fact that I'm like managing to dodge this shit so effortlessly to some points that I'm like genuinely surprised. Nope, that just goes around. Cool. What do you think we're gonna find first? Do you think we're gonna find like the portal or the actual? I think we're gonna find the actual like portal that connects to this, or we're gonna find the bastion first. I'm putting my money on the portal. Because by the direction we're going, I have a feeling that this is leading more towards the portal. Ah. Just claws my way through. It's fine. We will never come back here. For any reason outside of to find the mushroom, but also I'm pretty sure that I can just, you know, find the fucking command. You know, abuse the shit out of locate. This might be another claw through situation. Unless, haha. Well, if I didn't have the find all the biomes and the nether achievement, I sure as hell would have gotten it now. Oh my god, what's that one MCC event? That's like the to get to the other side. I feel like I would be amazing at that. I would doubt myself way too fucking. Nope. I don't know. I never tried it. That would be a fun stream to do. See if I would actually be as good. Nope, still new area. Damn. Nope, no way out. I know compass. Is there a way upwards? Looks like it. There's not. Uh-oh. We might be in a claw way out situation. Yeah, this looks like a claw. Unless there's... Haha! Sometimes it just takes moving around the bitch. Am I literally trapped here? Hole. 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 It's just, yeah, I was like, please tell me I'm actually, you know, looking at the right compass. I feel like anyone who downloads my world is just gonna be like, what the fuck? Zombie piglin grunts. Let me go. Ha! Nope. Don't mind me. Just casually about to start lighting some fucking TNT. Actually, wooden's beds work a lot better. Yep. 100%. Yep. 100%. Hey, would you look at that, Sebastian? It's not in direction, but I'm... Nah. Never mind. We've been here before. It's either that or I was in rendering distance. We've not been here before. Oh, hey, friends. Can I get lucky with the Wither Skull? Nope. Don't go off the edge, please. Nope. Wither Skull, good sir? No. Wither Skull? No. Damn. I did not mean to start flying. Fuck! Fuck! I hate this biome. I hate this biome so fucking much. I hate this biome. So if you forgot to throw up on the hoodie. I can't help myself. Hello. Funny enough, I think I'm gonna get an achievement doing this. I think there's like travel like a certain amount of kilometers, like certain amount of distance between the nether. And I'm like very certain I'm about to reach that. Good thing is, I know what biome I'm looking for. This feels familiar to me, but I don't know why. It's fucking not, because the fucking lava's flowing. Maybe I've just seen so many goddamn bastions, my brain just combining them together. Get me off of these, please. Sometimes forget that hell is just like a blocked off piece of shit. Please don't be closed. Please don't disappoint me. Yeah, it disappointed me. Oh, it severely disappointed me. Well, blow it off the bed. Need to go this way? Cool. Love how my first reaction is, fuck it. Brute force the way through. Okay, hello. I mean, I'll take it. I'll take any ancient debris I find. But still, no ancient debris find will ever be as funny as a day. I was like at like 90 something. That worked. Didn't mean to fall. Oh yeah, no, this is gonna be hell to get back to. That threw me back. Fuck the nether. Love that. Make my life 50 times easier. I know I'm being quiet, but I'm focusing on getting back. Yeah, we have a bed for brute force. Hate basalt biomes. I fucking hate them. Okay. Okay. This works out fine. Dandy. Wonderful. Fuck. Is this just gonna be the fucking achievement hunting day? You didn't think I would not fucking brute force my way through this forest? You're wrong. Oh, look at that. Another thing I don't want nor need. Alright, good to thank you for proving that I've not been here. Is there any way out? Yep, there is. Woo! Smooth. Thank God I didn't have to brute force my way out. Handerman. Brute force time. I love how I've just come to, like, physical, just fucking just brute force. It's like, don't even care. Cause, fuck the nether. Ooh, quartz. I'm also just free ancient debris mining, cause why not? I haven't done that in fucking forever. I'm so glad this is not an SMP. These fucks would be looking at me like I was psychotic. Ah, damn. Couple more explosions this way. If it works, it works. Again, I think this biome was so fucking pretty. Especially since, like, you can see them moving, and, like, it makes these biomes just feel alive. Again, give me some indication that either I've been here before or this is new territory, please. Please. Lava flowing, new area. Perfect. Yep, that lava coming down gave me a very rough estimate. Shut the fuck up. Yeah, no, too lazy. I just want anyone who, like, doesn't know me just to come into the stream and be like, what's happening? Oh, you know, brute forcing my way to another portal that I'm too lazy to, you know, use a simple command for. Because I want to see if it's just fundamentally fucking possible to get home from here. I also hate when it's at a fucking angle. Damn. God, if I ever make my world downloadable, I'm so sorry if you find these fucking just fucked up caves. They weren't auto-generated. I just said, fuck it. Bitch. Nope. Nope. I love how I just don't have a care anymore. Again, I usually love nature, just not this bitch. Oh, we're in a different biome now. Oh, boo-hoo. Sushi, you good? I'm just hearing Sushi make weird noises. Freedom. Oh, hey. Again, I've not seen... Damn. Nope, it is what it is now. It is whatever the fuck it is now. What's some light war crimes? Oh my god. Is this how I am when I go ancient debris mining? Is this how I am? Oh. Oh, you're looking at yourself. That's why you're making weird noises, Sushi. Oh, hey, we found it. We made it. What side did we ended up on the back side, I think. Oh no, we ended up from that side. We made it. Honestly, didn't take that long. Oh yeah, no, that's 100% play achievement. Well, we made it. So that's not a bad, like... That's not a bad way, it's just annoying. Funny enough. Yeah, I was like, wait, the lava's like rendered in now. There you are. I was like, what happened to all the animals that were here? When the fuck was this here? So, we still... Oh, cool. A family decided to fucking appear. Game froze. Remember this build? Remember this build? That didn't give me the achievement? Really? Drinks, cocktail, summon a wither. I haven't spun a... Tame all cat variants. Huh. I guess they might have removed that. They might have got rid of that achievement. Again, how the fuck did Snow get here then? Alright. We're back home. Time to clear out Is there still shit in here? Oh no, I'm keeping the horns. Fuck that shit. The horns are chilling. Forgot the gold. Saw it literally last minute. Glowberries, golden carrots, that can stay with me. Damn, that axe has like nothing left. Wood can go in there. Other items. My god. Why do I have so much of that shit? Yeah, no, the horn's chilling with me. Again, like, I keep forgetting where, like, certain shit goes, and my brain's just like, Why do I have so many belts? My god. Oh, wait, I was like, wait. Surprisingly, I had a chainmail section. Interesting. Mob drops. Honestly, could add this into mob drops. But nah. There's so much fucking beef from, like, the onslaught that happened. Please don't kill the cat. That'd be like the saddest thing ever. Is this night vision? Of course it is. Don't question all the regeneration potions that happened. Golden apples, bell. I should have figured that out sooner. Ooh, that would have been nice. We're also gonna do a very fancy command. I keep hitting the end. I think it's because I was working so much in the end that my brain just kind of like, yeah, here goes. Fucking gunpowder. Do I have an animals chest? Deep Dark, Trade, Rune City, Nature, Animals. Just because that was getting ridiculous. Ominous banner. Food, bread, glowberries. Is there any room in here for you? Nah, I think we'll throw you in here. As well as you. Why do I have so many? Oh, it's because the city build. Not the city build, the fucking, the monument build. That's why. How many of these fuckers have I killed? I've killed 7. That feels nice to a certain degree. Oh my god. I use potions. The amount of fucking night vision potions I made, or I collected. How the fuck did I miss the trident? Catch my breath. Don't waste my time. Now the coal can go like that. Make it easier on me. Tools? I don't think I have a spot for fishing rods. Now we do. I've never gotten an iron tool. I have a very hard time believing that I did not. Make my life the most, like, littlest bit easier. You should be somewhere else. But thank God we get to do a fucking water breathing section. That's the ocean shit. Value, you go in there. Why do I have so little diamonds? That's fine. Not all shown. If I hit the end chest one more time, I'm going to actually slap the shit out of myself. There ain't no way that's the first Nautilus shell I've ever gotten. There ain't no way. Alright, my little chest. Alright. We're doing it. We're seeing if there was another mushroom biome. That the moss goes on the outside of the trees. There was one fucking closer. There was one closer. There was one closer. There was one closer. There was one very much closer. 'Cause of fucking course there was.